A professional art heist takes about 10 minutes. The two men who robbed the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum took 81. They cut paintings out of their frames with box cutters. They grabbed an ancient Chinese cup and left the most valuable pieces hanging. By every measure, these were amateurs. And they pulled off the single largest art theft in human history. $500 million, still missing 36 years later. So how did the worst art thieves imaginable commit the perfect crime? March 18th, 1990, 1:24 a.m. Two men in Boston police uniforms buzzed the side entrance of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. They told the night watchman, Richard Abath, they were investigating a disturbance in the yard. Abath broke protocol. He buzzed them into the secure lobby. Within minutes, the officers forced Abath and the second guard into the basement, where they were bound in duct tape and handcuffed to a boiler. By the time they left, $500 million in art was gone. And 36 years later, none of it has been recovered. How does this happen? The answer is a mix of financial trouble and Isabella Stewart Gardner herself. By the 1980s, the museum's security was dangerously outdated. Cameras only covered the entrance and exit, recording on VHS tapes that recycled every 24 hours. The image quality was terrible, and guards couldn't even review the footage in real time. The FBI knew it was a target. They warned the museum of a credible robbery plot in 1982 and again in 1989 after nearby museums were robbed. In response, the museum added 60 infrared motion detectors and a CCTV system with 4 exterior cameras, but absolutely no cameras were installed inside the galleries. They couldn't, because of Isabella Stewart Gardner's will. When Gardner died in 1924, she left the museum to the public with one ironclad stipulation. The building and the art had to remain exactly as she left them. No art could be moved, and the building couldn't be significantly altered. If the terms were broken, the entire collection would be packed up, auctioned off in Paris, and the proceeds transferred to Harvard University. Already struggling financially, the museum's trustees were terrified that ripping into walls to install modern climate control or interior security cameras would trigger this clause and cost them the museum entirely. 12:30 a.m., the morning after St. Patrick's Day, a group of partygoers noticed a red Dodge Daytona parked about 100 feet from the museum's side entrance. Inside were two men wearing police uniforms. Because it's St. Patrick's Day and there are plenty of inebriated folks walking around town, nothing about them being there seemed out of place. So the witnesses dismiss it. Inside, the night shift begins. Rick Abath is the senior guard on duty. His partner, 25-year-old Randy Heston, is working the night shift for the very first time. It is protocol that one guard sat at the desk while the other patrolled the galleries. During Abath's first patrol, a fire alarm sounds across multiple rooms. Abath searches the galleries but finds no trace of fire or smoke. Returning to the control panel, he assumes it was a malfunction and disables the fire alarm system entirely. Before returning to the security desk to switch places with Heston, Abath stops at the museum's Palace roadside entrance. According to the internal security data, Abath briefly opened the exterior door and immediately shut it again, without notifying Heston or logging the event. At 1:20 a.m., Abath is at the security desk while Heston is on patrol. The two men in the Dodge Daytona pull up to the side entrance. At 1:24 a.m., they buzz the intercom, claiming they're responding to a disturbance. Abath hesitates. Protocol forbids guards from ever opening the doors at night without calling headquarters. But looking at the men standing at the door in Boston police uniform, and considering the festivities happening around town, he lets them in. According to the police report, the guards describe both men as white in their 30s with short black hair. They wore a dark blue nylon jacket with a police patch and a badge, a light blue shirt with 2 round enameled pins on the collar, one red and the other blue. On the left side of the collar, there was a star in the center. They also wore a black tie and dark blue pants. One of the men is described as being around 5'8", 170 pounds, with a fake black mustache and gold-rimmed square glasses. The second man is taller, having an average build and clean-shaven. Inside the security vestibule, the men ask Abath if anyone else is in the building. They demand he call the second guard down to the desk. Heston arrives shortly after. One of the men tells Abath he looks familiar, and that there might be a warrant out for his arrest. They order Abath to step out from behind the security desk, luring him away from the only panic button. The men command Abath to face the wall and handcuff him. As he asks why he's being arrested, the other man turns Heston around, handcuffing him as well. With both guards cuffed, one man announces, "Gentlemen, this is a robbery." The men cover the guards' eyes and mouths. They also take their wallets, telling them now they know where they live. Walking them into the basement, they bind their hands and ankles with duct tape and secure them to a workbench and a steam pipe, leaving them immobile. The one man tells them to do as I say and no harm will come to you. Don't tell them anything, and in about a year, you will be rewarded. With no cameras in the galleries, investigators track their path using the infrared motion detectors. The Dutch room on the second floor is their first stop. Here they spend the most time stealing a Chinese Shang Dynasty beaker, the oldest of the stolen pieces, a flink painting landscape with an obelisk, the Rembrandt paintings Christ in the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, a lady and gentleman in black, and the etching Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. The Vermeer painting, The Concert, is also stolen from this area. This work is considered the most valuable stolen artwork in the world, according to ArtNet. Essential Vermeer considers this painting one of only 34 or 35 firmly attributed Vermeers in the world. From the short gallery down the hall, they take 5 Degas sketches, leaving the paddock, procession on a road near Florence, 3 mounted jockeys, and study for the program, which consisted of 2 sketches. They also take a decorative bronze eagle finial that sat on top of a framed silk flag from Napoleon's Imperial Guard. The thieves tried to steal the whole flag, but failed, so they only got away with the eagle. As the robbery is happening in the short gallery, a sensor is triggered in the blue room on the first floor, as a Manet painting, Ches Tortoni, is stolen. In the tapestry room, the infrared shows movement, but nothing is taken. Periodically during the robbery, they check on the bound guards in the basement, at one point telling them, "We are working upstairs." Their process of removing these masterpieces from their frames makes it pretty apparent to investigators these aren't experienced art thieves. They used box cutters or some similar instrument to brutally slice the 2 large Rembrandts directly out of their wooden stretchers, leaving jagged strips of canvas behind in the empty frames. The smallest Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man was roughly the size of a postage stamp. The Vermeer, the Flink, and the Manet are physically pried from their frames. They shatter glass display cabinets to rip the 5 Degas sketches directly off their mouths. They take the VHS tape from the security cameras and the printout from the front desk's alarm system, although the data was also stored electronically. The thieves spend exactly 81 minutes inside the building. To put that into perspective, most professional heists take 10 minutes max. At 8 a.m., morning staff arrived. Unable to get past the interior security doors, they contact the security director, Larry O'Brien. He arrived at the museum minutes later, saw the empty frame where the Manet painting had been, and immediately called the museum's head of security, Lyle Grindle, telling him what he saw. He's instructed to call the police and not touch anything. According to the police report, at 8:16 a.m., Boston police officers Robin DeMarco and Trent Holland arrived on the scene. Some nearby patrol cars come as well, though their individual names remain unlisted in the report. Sergeant Colletti and Sergeant Detective Crossan arrived shortly after to coordinate the investigation to find the guards, who were still missing at the time. Sweeping the galleries, they found empty frames, shattered glass, and finally, the 2 bound guards in the basement. In the end, the thieves stole exactly 13 items, collectively valued at over $200 million. The Vermeer alone makes up half that amount. Today, that amount, counting for rarity and inflation, is well over $500 million. The thieves who got away with the art and the reason they stole those particular pieces has been up to debate for years. In 2013, the FBI says they know who did it. Here's what 30 years of investigation finally concluded. The theft was likely a product of the New England Mafia. The operation was allegedly orchestrated by Carmelo Merlino, a prominent figure in the Mafia family. For a while, the FBI thought the famous Irish mobster Whitney Bulger orchestrated the robbery either for his own gain or the art was smuggled overseas to the Irish Republican Army to fund weapons purchases. But his arrest in June 2011 was a bust for this crime. His apartment in Santa Monica, California turned up nothing. Because of that, he was no longer considered the one who organized the crime. There was also suspicion that the robbery was an inside job. Rick Abath broke protocol twice that night, the first by opening and closing the side door without notifying or logging his action, and for ultimately opening the door for the fake cops. On Abath's involvement, lead investigator Jeff Kelly said, "I think that there was enough information back then that he could have been charged. Would it be enough to convict him? I don't know." He later added, by the time investigators examined those questions more closely, the statute of limitations had expired, leaving them with little leverage to compel cooperation. For 34 years, Rick Abath denied any involvement in the crime. He passed away in February 2024. Then, investigators theorized that the robbery was committed by low-level local thugs who realized the museum was a soft target. They didn't know anything about art. They just knew art was worth money. The execution of the heist comes across as amateur. They took way too long for a professional job. They smashed glass, ripped canvas off mounts, and butchered the Rembrandts. The bizarre selection of items, ignoring the most expensive paintings in favor of an ancient Chinese cup and a finial, point to a blind attempt at getting as much as they can, rather than a calculated attempt. Realizing they possessed millions of dollars of completely unsellable evidence, they panicked and buried or destroyed the art to save themselves. But for the lead investigator of the case for over 2 decades, Jeff Kelly put his insights and theory of events into a book released in March 2026, titled 13 Perfect Fugitives, the true story of the mob, murder, and the world's largest art heist. Kelly's theory goes that Merlino sent George Reisfelder and Leonardo de Muzio to execute the robbery. Both men matched the police sketches. De Muzio was known to wear a fake mustache to look older, and Reisfelder drove a red Dodge Daytona. The Merlino crew knew a stolen Vermeer was unsellable. In organized crime, high-profile art serves as collateral. The crew stashed the $200 million haul to trade back to the federal government in exchange for immunity or reduced prison time if high-ranking members faced federal charges. The trail went cold a year and a half after the heist. De Muzio and Reisfelder died in 1991, losing the location of the initial stash house. Control of the art fell to Merlino and older mafia members. The FBI claims the art was moved to Connecticut and Philadelphia in the late 90s, eventually entering the custody of veteran mobster Robert Gentile. In a 2012 raid on Gentile's Connecticut home, agents found a handwritten list of the 13 stolen items and their black market prices hidden in a false bottom container. Gentile failed a polygraph regarding his knowledge of the art's location. Despite sting operations and federal prison time, he maintained his innocence until his death in 2021. Carmelo Merlino died in prison in 2005. Kelly concludes the art remains in a specialized, temperature-controlled stash house. The location lost with the deaths of those involved. The $10 million reward the museum is offering for their return remains unclaimed. If you walk into the Gardner Museum today, those frames are still there, empty. Placeholders for the art stolen all those years ago.